So as mentioned, we want to take a look at the Foliage tool in the next steps and add additional greenery to this scene. You can find the Foliage tool under the button Editor Modes in this top bar, where you can select Foliage to switch to the new layout of the editor. So as you can see, we have a new panel here now and additional buttons up here to control the Foliage tool. The first thing we need to do is we need to actually add foliage to this dialog inside here. And for that, I want to use the money plant foliage that I imported from Megascans. So just grab these 6 elements and throw them into here, into the foliage type. Now, when you throw them in the first time, they will be grayed out. And in order to use them, you need to just select all the foliage that you want to use and activate them. And now you can see when I hover over the scene, I will get this blue cursor that basically shows me where the foliage will be placed. Just try that out. Just click into the scene and you will see what happens. This looks pretty crazy, so we want to adjust our settings based on what we're seeing here right now. First off, I want to decrease the scale quite a bit. Then secondly, under placement, you will find the option ground slope angle. And this basically describes on which surface the Foliage tool will create plant life. At the moment, it only creates plant life on surfaces that deviate between 0 to 45 degrees from the horizontal. But as I want to create plant life at the bottom of this rock, I'm going to change this to something like maybe 110 to 180. So let's click on the object again and see what that does. So as you can see now, our plants are primarily created at the bottom of the rock and nothing spawns anymore at the top. But still, I want to adjust a few more things. First of all, I think I want to limit the amount of variation I want to have within those foliage types. So there are these really long ones, which I will deactivate, and I will just use the 3 lower ones. Then additionally, I want to increase the density of how much plant life the Foliage tool will spawn within the circle. And also, I think I want to decrease the size of the circle that I'm painting with. You can do that by pressing the left and right bracket on your keyboard. Now with the smaller circle size, and I also decided to leave the main camera, I just have a bit more control on where these things actually spawn. I don't really care too much if they kind of intersect with some of these objects in the background because it's just an image. But I want to try to keep them primarily on the rock. I ended up with something like this after painting on the rock for a while. But you will recognize there's something really weird going on the right side. This foliage here almost looks like it's translucent. It's way brighter than the one on the front. Again, this is caused by the long focal length on our camera and certain performance improvements kicking in. When we leave the main camera and move into the scene, we will see that there's a moment where suddenly this brightness appears. And if you're really close to the object, everything looks really nice. Basically, Unreal is disabling ray tracing shadows depending on the distance of the foliage to the camera. In our case, because we are zoomed in so far, this is not really helping because we want those to look right. In order to fix this issue, we need to use a console command to adjust the rendering parameters. You can do that by going to the output log, which you will find right off the content browser. For example, if we type in r.raytracing, you will see a long list of additional options that we have regarding the ray tracing features. And don't get too confused by those, because we only need one specific command for now. The specific command I want to adjust is r.raytracing.instantstaticmeshes.culling, which I want to turn off. And as soon as we've executed that command, those leaves should look a lot nicer now. One last thing I want to do is reduce the amount of foliage again, as it has become a little bit dense in places. I can do that by using the eraser tool in the top bar of the Foliage tool. That kind of allows me just to delete foliage in certain areas again. After playing around for a while, this is what I ended up with. But again, it's really a lot about personal choice, so don't be too picky on trying to recreate that exact scene. I'm just trying to show off some of the tools I use to create an image like this. Also, you might have recognized that I changed a few textures again, as I always tend to adjust things on the fly.